This is the Karura Community Call. Thanks for joining us. I'm Robin. I'm Community and Growth Manager for Karura and Akala. And I'll pass it over to my colleagues here and they can introduce themselves as well. Let's start with Josh.
Hi everyone, it's Josh, user operations. You often see me in the Discord answering questions. Glad to be here.
Cool, thanks for joining. And Brian Chen, can you give a quick intro?
Hi everyone, this is Brian, co-founder and CTO of Akala and Karura.
And Betty.
Hi everyone, Betty here, also co-founder of Akala and Karura. Great to be here.
Cool, thanks everyone. So if this is your first Karura Community Call, I'll just go over some housekeeping here. We utilize a couple channels here in the Community Call section, so you could keep an eye on the Community Call whiteboard channel, and we'll share any sort of visual elements or links to anything that we're discussing. You can ask your questions in the Community Call chat channel, and we'll answer it by text. Or you are more than welcome to raise your hand here, and we will invite you to join the stage to ask your questions live during our Community Q&A section. Okay, so I guess let's get started. There's a lot of updates happening and a lot of incoming news for Karura. First on the agenda here, we have CAR as collateral. Betty, do you want to go into more details?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Robin. There are quite a bit of development work been underway for Karura. I think later Brian can also shed some light on some of the development and improvements that we've been making. But I think last community call, we mentioned that we proposed the KR as collateral, and then we've submitted that request to Ganglet, our economic auditor. And then now the result has come back. Let me just share that post here. So for any newer assets to become a collateral, even it is our native network token, especially if it's our network token, it has to kind of meet certain criteria, and especially in terms of liquidity, volatility, trading volume, and things like that. So for those who's interested, can actually click into that link that I shared in the whiteboard channel, and then can have a look at the assessment made by Ganglet. So this is an interesting proposal, I guess, because that kind of like as the beginning of making also KR as an important, another utility on our network to be able to become a collateral for a stable coin. And right now, the recommendation is at a very, very conservative level, as we also suggested to Ganglet that we want to start very, very small, and then continue to monitor the performance of the collateral as well as the stability of the stablecoin, and then just to see how that goes. So this is I guess one of the newer things that is happening on Karura. Originally in our white paper, we didn't even put KR there as a default collateral because we know when we first launched the network, the native token would not meet any of the criteria from day one. But now it's been a few months running the network, and things seem to be stabilized, and there's quite a bit of activity going on. So with the support from the Ganglet auditor, we would be quite happy to put this proposal forward for vote, and then see how that goes to turn it on as a collateral. So that's what's been happening. And also we will also be proposing Ganglet not only doing off-chain economic auditing, but also in a process of recommending them to become one of the financial, taking one of the financial counselor seat, so they can make direct proposals on chain and voting on chain as well. So so that's that.
So we have the link there shared in the community call whiteboard. and we'll continue to update here in the server as this becomes enabled on Karura. Next on the agenda, we have actually a couple new pairs that are coming to Karura Swap. If we can get some more details, and there are some tokens CAR, LKSM, and then we have LKSM and kUSD. If you'd like to share more, Betty.
Yeah, so this is a series of new listings that we're going to have, and we're going to have a KR and LKSM pool. Obviously, that's going to support folks who the KR holders will be able to also participate as a liquidity provider, but also at the same time supporting native derivatives, LKSM. And then another pool that we suggesting to spin up is the LKSM and kUSD, because now the sort of the native KSM would have a much higher opportunity cost because it's being used for staking as well as being used for crowd loan, etc. So it would be more efficient and ideal to have more LKSM in the markets rather than the native or plain KSM there. So that's why we're thinking, suggesting two pools involving LKSM and also adding incentives so that hopefully the market mechanism can shift some of the KSM participation into LKSM so that in a way it's gonna I guess lower the cost of folks who's using direct KSM for both minting the dollars as well as participating as LPs, but also at the same time adding new trading pairs on there. And then this is only, I guess, 2 new pairs that's based on the native tokens. But we also are waiting on a few other parachains to open up their channels so that their coins can actually flow over to Karura and then be able to list. So those are A-stars, and then a few others are already underway doing some testing. We're mainly, so in terms of the technical side, because I saw some folks raise some requests on our forum regarding bringing parachain tokens onto Karura. So just to be clear, from the core dev team and also Karura itself, everything is ready. So you guys have seen, Bifrost has already brought their tokens over and we've sent our kUSD over. So technically everything is ready. This is probably 100% is up to the other parachain team to get their parachain ready. And then the first step is to open up a channel between the 2 parachains. And then once that's done, the tokens can actually be sent across to Karura. So it's the most of the work, if not entire work, will be more on the other parachain team. And obviously, we've been working behind the scene to actually support everyone technically, to open up the channels, make sure the fees are right, and then any PRs that needs to get across listed tokens. Those are all we are supporting that behind the scene. But as for how that's proceed is mostly on the parachain teams, but we are very, very sort of open and supportive for anyone who want to bring other parachain tokens across and then be able to support especially the native tokens listing on Karura. So yeah.
So that's exciting, and as mentioned, we listed a couple of those parachain, or we didn't list, but we made some small announcements about what we can expect to see. You mentioned A-star, of course, that's Shiden SDN, and then we also tweeted out a little hint about how RMRK we could expect to see coming to Karura Swap in the future. So it sounds like we are about to see a lot happening on Karura Swap. I'd like to move along on the agenda, and I believe this is probably an item that Brian's going to be able to share more details on, but the HRML channel with Statemine.
So this firstly we're working with RMRK team as well to they currently have issued the tokens on the Statemine power chain, the common group power chain, and the protocols on Statemine is very limited. Well, there's only one, which is issuing assets and token transfer, so you can't really do fancy DeFi stuff there. So that's one of the primary reason they would like to bridge the assets across into Karura. So there are a number of steps required to allow tokens to be transferred across power chains, and the first step is, well, other than the technically the code, the runtime must be ready for that. The first on-chain step will be open the HRMP channel between the power chains. So the way the cross-chain messaging works is that every power chain, they can send a message to the relations. So that's how the KSM transfer is enabled, as well as the liquid staking. And they can also receive message from the relay chain. But power chain, they cannot just sending message to other power chains without any limitations, because otherwise potentially one misbehaving power chains could could be sending a lot of bad message to other power chains, to causing a lot of troubles. So that's why there's a requirement that two power chains, they need to be create a HRMP channel. It's called horizontally routed message passing channel. Before the cross-chain messaging can be exchanged between power chains. So this is actually two channels. So as there's already previously, we have opened this with Biforce. So there's actually two unidirectional channels doing all the bi-directional message passing. So we are working with the Statemine so because Statemine does not have any native governance body on the Statemine itself, is fully governed by the Kusama relay chain, as it is a common group project. So we are making this governance proposals to the Kusama instead of to the Statemine to open the HRMP channel. So right now we're getting a lot of positive feedbacks. So the next step is actually to do some actual testing, because, well, technically wise, open HRMP channel on the Statemine is a bit different than to other power chains, again, because we need to go through the Kusama governance. So we are expecting something to be happened in next few days on the west end, the relay chain testnet, about open the channel, to make sure the actual on-chain proposal is the right proposal. Otherwise, well, even if we, for example, have some misconfiguration on the proposal, then even it's passed, it will not be effective. So it's something we want to avoid to happen. So we're still going to do some final testing on that, and then we'll do the actual on-chain proposals to enable the voting on the Kusama. So you should hopefully see the on-chain public referenda in next few days on Kusama to vote for open the channel. So once the channel is open, then we will be able to support the message from the Statemine to Kusama. So initially, we are proposing open one-way channel, so that is allow this message to be sent from Statemine to Karura, but not the other way around. The one of the main reason is that due to some other technical limitations of the Statemine, how some of the question messaging is being handled. It does not yet supporting receiving transfer the assets back to the Statemine. But this is, but we believe that it's probably fine because, well, you can do everything on Karura. So if you transfer your remark from Statemine to Karura, well, you can stay on Karura. You're not losing any functionality. You can still do transfer. You can participate in the swap. Yeah, so there is not a lot of reasons you want to transfer the assets back to Statemine, and obviously, once we have resolved the XCM capability issues, which there's already open pull request by Gavin on this. So that should be resolved in next few days time. But again, they will probably require another runtime upgrade, so it will probably takes 1 or 2 weeks for the fix to be actually applied, and then we'll do another proposals on open the Karura to Statemine channel, so they will allow the asset transfer back. But that is, currently the higher priority is allow asset transfer from the Statemine to Karura. Yeah, so we are, technically wise, we are ready. So it's just a matter of finalizing the on-chain governance on the Kusama. There will also be another public referenda on Karura as well to accept the channel request from the Statemine. So again, you should be able to see their proposals in next few days time once the one on the Kusama is created. So after the channel is created, then the first thing you can see is you will be able to transfer actually, sorry, I forgot another thing. So on Statemine, anyone can issue their own tokens. If you go to the Statemine Polkadot apps, you will see there are a bunch of already tons of tokens there, but not all of them are the real tokens with real values. Most of them just people create for fun. So due to some technical limitations, again, because right now to do the token transfer, you're using the token being transferred to pay for the transaction fee. So we don't yet supporting using other tokens to pay for the transaction fee, which again is in our roadmap, but they will probably happen a few months later. So we cannot accept any random tokens, arbitrary tokens, to be transferred from Statemine to Karura because, someone need to pay for the fee, and it's probably a very poor idea to accept any arbitrary tokens as the fee payment tokens because, many of them could have 0 values, so it makes no sense. So it requires another on-chain referenda on the Karura side to enable a particular token to be accept as a fee payment tokens on the Karura. So you'll actually see a few more public referendums in next few days. So one is accept the HRMP channel from Statemine. Another one is enable the remark token, accept the remark token as the foreign token on the Karura. And then you should see another one to actually enable the remark token on the Karura Swap, as well as enable the incentive program. And after that, then you'll be able to start do the bootstrapping of the remark relate trading pairs, and then start trading with remark token.
Yeah, I know Remark is getting a lot of attention lately, and I know like a lot of our community are very excited to see it incorporated into Karura, along with these other parachain tokens. So it does sound like we're going to have a few referenda coming up in the coming weeks, and things are going to start moving very quickly in sync with the Akala launch as well. So I know the team is quite busy preparing for that.
I saw a question in the chat to talk about there's a recent proposal regarding LKSM validators. Should we have a little bit of a chat on that one? I just posted that proposal in the whiteboard channel.
That would be great. One of the tags on that question, and I'll say it out loud for folks who are watching this later on YouTube. But the question is, what does the team think about a recent governance proposal, which is an on-chain remark about LKSM validators? And there's a secondary question that if it passes, will it be honored? So I feel like this is like maybe a two-parter that goes into a little bit of how governance on Karura works, but also the details on this community proposal. Betty, I'd be happy to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so I will start, and I think some of this also to do with some of the technical side. For example, right now, I think the vote that's been put forward by the community, they've done their best. Of course, ideally, you should be able to use the LKSM that you have to actually to do the voting, and that hasn't been enabled just yet. So we kind of like all working progress in terms of those processes. But I think Brian can shed some light a bit later. But I think in general, the sort of the staking strategy that we would propose, but of course this will can be kind of like changed through voting or in indicative voting through folks who participate in LKSM. And the general sort of strategy that we outlined is, the validator should have on-chain identity, no slash history, and then they've already been a validator or have a validator history on Kusama and Polkadot, and then their commission rate. So we can actually pull out that list and then kind of rank the validators, by commission rate. And then also there's a added criteria that's currently not possible on chain, but we'll aim to kind of like adding that is slash coverage, because with any of the validators, the risk behind the mine is you could get slashed regarding it doesn't matter what your history would be or what happens in the past or how you might be perceived as a validator, but there's always a risk for slashing, which could cut into the principle of the staked assets, right? So I know there are different mechanisms that have been discussed and also been planned to be implemented on chain. They almost all of them will require capital to be locked on chain. So we have a couple of sort of proposals there to be able to make them on chain and use LKSM to be able to kind of like reserve the part for paying back the slashing rewards. However, in the immediate term, one workaround that we have is to voluntarily have the validator to cover or have a self-insurance. It doesn't matter whether they acquire insurance from a third party or they use their balance sheet to cover the slashing or whatever way, but they provide slash coverage, and then we will be able to label that on the list of the validators, and then certainly that becomes one of the criteria that I just outlined, right? So if you meet all of those criteria, you're also on top of the commission rate list, like in terms of lower commission rate, and then if you also provide slashing coverage, of course, because it's not on chain, so we have to have some way of guarantee that is able to cover in case the event happen. Then it will also be able to rank higher, and then so that it's clear that these type of validators should be selected as well. And then one of the last strategy that we also outlined is we prefer dedicated validators for LKSM and LDOT. So for example, if you think about it this way, the LKSM is almost like a staking pool. So certainly for the validators, there's a motivation for them to provide this more like democratized services for individuals, right? Because otherwise, many of the privileged services that I outlined, like slash coverage, low commission rate, they are mostly reserved for whales. If you're a whale, you can actually commission validators to provide those differentiated services for you, particularly, but certainly those are not for the public. So we want to, kind of see if we can achieve to kind of open that up a little bit more. So lower commission rate, and also have insurance or coverage for everybody, like who actually participate in the LK or later pool. And then the validators who provide the service, they could actually make their validator dedicated to our pool in particular, because again, they may not open it to anyone, but they are able to offer that to the LKSM pool in particular. So that would be kind of like a preferred way for us to kind of like make the selection. And yeah, so those are just like in general how those selection criteria are laid out in general. But with regard to post, I think maybe Brian, you can shed some lights on what you think of the proposal, and then also I saw there's a couple of back and forth suggestions and kind of like discussion there as well. So yeah, I think Brian, you can shed some lights, and also I think if you guys like folks who's kind of like responded in the post, also feel free to jump on the stage as well if you've got a strong opinion, for or against it. So yeah.
Yeah. So firstly, I'm very happy to see we have some community proposals on trying to improve the protocols or improve the flows. So that's very good. Well, firstly, this is a remark. The session remark. So it only is like more of the signal, so it cannot actually be enforced on chain. So one of the question is that obviously even the skip paths get executed, we can still kind of just ignore it and not actually add the request changes. So I think in this case the proposal is still on the reasonable level, so it's not going to introduce some any harms. But obviously there are some discussions on whether if that replaced validators is indeed the right ones. But I think that we can obviously leave this to the community to decide if we should actually do that. So if this does get passed, I have no problem to actually execute it. Might not be necessary exactly as it is, but it depends on, obviously it depends on some other situations, because this will take a few days to be voting, and the validators comes and goes. But it's very likely if this does indeed get passed, then it's very likely we are able to execute the request course exactly as it is. So, and then yes, Betty mentioned we have a lot some criteria about selecting the validators, but we also do have a lot of backend things to work behind the scenes work to onboard high quality validators. But one of the key requirement is we are trying to onboard validators with self-insurance, with search guarantee. So that requires slightly longer than what we expect time to set up the right ways of that, because currently it's all option work. So we are a bit slow on onboarding the validators with self-insurance, but hopefully as things progress, we can update that more frequently. But the current version of the liquid staking protocol is a simpler, a light version of it, and we are already working on improving it. So there is an open pull request on the Karura to improve everything. So then in the next version, the LDOT holders will be able to actually vote this on chain with enforceable votings. So you can actually vote that who you would like to be selected as the validators, and if the vote get passed, it will be enforced by the power chains. So that should improve the flow later. But obviously the development is taking time, and then we also need to audit the code. There's a lot of testing required. So, but we are they should be get out in Q1 next year with improved liquid staking protocol. Yeah, so well, that's actually a lot more replies since that last time I checked it. So I need to go through the replies, see what's the opinion of the community. But definitely, if you have opinions, feel free to comment it in the proposals or write it out on the stage. And then after
yeah, I'll just add to that.
2 days, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just add to that because the original, I think, proposal was to replace, I think there are currently 4 P2P validators that's been selected. And then the original proposal was to replace those 4. But the discussion also brought up points of a validator named Jekyll also have a number of validators as well. So potentially it could be, well, firstly is like, if those validators that's been like new validators been proposed actually meet those criteria, we can take out the self-coverage part because like none of the ones here have that self-coverage label just yet. So, but they have to meet all the other criteria. So certainly, if you've got 10% commission compared to everybody else, like 1%, 2%, then you're already out of the list, right? But if you are fall into the range of, at least in the range of the selection criteria or the top validators, but also at the same time it's got a good track record and no slashing history, then certainly can be part of the selection, and then it's probably more of bumping some of the validators out and then adding some of the independent validator, which is also a good thing in terms of decentralization, as well as having a variety of validators that come from different service providers. But someone also raised a good point that you don't need to replace everybody, like all of their validators, like from P2P. Maybe they can keep 1 or 2, and then there's also other repeating validators from maybe JCO and maybe some others that folks can actually suggest what would be the right mixture there as well. So I think in general, I think this is a really positive sort of discussion there. So I saw someone raise hands and ask more questions. Maybe Robin, should we get folks to kind of join the debate or join the discussion? Or
yeah, definitely. I'm going to encourage anyone who wants to get on stage to please raise your hand, and we'll invite you up to speak on this. And I wanted to add on that, as you both mentioned, there's a lot of healthy discussion in this specific proposal, and it's really exciting, I think, to see the community make such thoughtful comments and back and forth to go over this. Betty, I did have a question about I know our governance discussion is sort of evolving with Karura and with the community. Where's the best place to stay up to date on these types of proposals? Because we have this discourse forum, but we also have this sub-square here. Are there any additional locations that we should keep our eyes on to be up to date with proposals?
Yeah, so we're keeping the main discussion still on discourse right now. And then Subsquare is a tool that we are trialing because if you actually look at the post that I sent, the Subsquare aims to actually combine the two together. So we try to combine the off-chain discussion together with the on-chain proposal. And also you can actually log into it. So folks who actually provide indicative voting or actually voting there, it's all integrated together. So if that turned out to be really good, I think it's a more ideal tool for all of us to be discussing as well as voting and actually raise the actual on-chain proposal in one place. And this is what Subsquare is aimed to achieve. So right now we're running 2 systems, the forum with the original discussion, and then Subsquare as well as the Polkadot.js for the actual on-chain proposal. So over time, then we want to move to just one single place. So far, it looks promising for the Subsquare, what it offers. And then it still doesn't have all the functionalities that we have, like the different type of councils and etc. But it has probably 70-80% of all the governance features that we have. So once it actually covers all the features, yeah, I think but folks can also feedback, right? If what they think about the tool, should we move over there over time and things. So.
Excellent. Good to know. I know all the arrangements for governance and organization are challenges across the board for multiple DAOs and projects. And of course, we are in effect a protocol DAO. So it's exciting to see what happens if that one place is the solution. Okay, I'm going to turn to some community members I invited to stage here. Let's start with Diaracle. If you can introduce yourself and ask your question.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm a early investor in Color. Then, so my thing is just, I want to get an idea of when will simple questions. When will Akala start trading, and when are we looking for the pools with Akala and Karura?
Well, so for Akala, well, obviously it needs to be happen when the network launches, and again, similar to the Karura, the launch is a phased launch. We will share a more public roadmap later on once we finalize the details. But if you have experienced the Karura launching phase, you will know you start with no features enabled at all. We'll monitor the block production stability for some period of time, and then we'll do the token distributions, and then we'll start enable the governance system so people can placing on-chain referendums, and then one of the first one will be enable the token transfer as well as remove the sudo admin key. So there will be a phased approach. It will take a few weeks time to progress those phases, especially there is Christmas holidays and New Year's during the period, so things could be happen. Well, things will take some time. Yeah, and then will be enabled the swap protocol on the Akala, so allow the swap between Akala and DOT and few other selected assets. Until the Polkadot to Kusama bridge is available, there's no way to bridging. Until there's some bridge available, so we cannot send the Akala to Karura, so we cannot have trading pairs on Karura to trade Akala. But when the bridge, if we have some bridges, and then this will be possible. But again, there will be another separate discussion to see if we would like to trade Akala on Karura, or if we want to do the other way to trade Karura on Akala.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks for your question and support. And to be clear, this bridge between Polkadot and Kusama that would enable this bridge between Akala and Karura to get these pairs over there. This is a dependency outside of this team. Like, we'd have to wait for Polkadot to construct that and provide that. Let's move over to Blink. I believe you got an upgrade on your name. If you want to go ahead and intro yourself and ask a question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just might as well. Everybody's aping right now, so Ape Blinken instead of Abe Lincoln, whatever, you know.
Perfect.
And Robin, you're on point today for sure. I could tell you're trying to improve the presentation for people who are viewing it later and not in real time. It's awesome. Just wanted to say that real quick. Team, thank you so much for all the work that you do, like always. And then I kind of have a two-part question. It's more kind of two questions, but anyway, first one, we'll do the difficult one first. I see under use cases of enabling the HRMP channel between Karura and Statemine is assets as collateral to issue kUSD. And I was just wondering if RMRK NFTs could be considered as these quote-unquote high-value assets, and if they are or could be voted in as such. And then beyond that, if there would be some sort of integration with Altair, you know, bringing real-world assets on chain, kind of via a like trilateral integration between Karura, Altair, and RMRK Statemine. You know, I could, because I can consider that if all three of these are working together, they'd be like validating each other's value and utility. I'm just wondering about that.
Yeah, you're 100% on point. Thanks for the question, because we already in discussion with Altair, because from the Akala side, we've already been working with Centrifuge to bring real-world assets and then to be able to fractionize the non-fungible real-world assets into fungible assets, and then be able to use as collateral for stablecoin on the Akala side. So we've already talked to their team to do similar things on Altair, but bring in more alternative digital non-fungible assets, which is exactly what the use case you've kind of laid out there, because Altair will have the ability to kind of fractionalize, basically making non-fungible assets fungible, and then be able to bring those assets across to Karura, and then use that as collateral. And yeah, so that's sort of almost exactly how maybe the first step we will be collaborating with Altair and also other NFT issuers. So yeah.
Excellent. I'm drooling over that for sure. And then finally, if I may, one more question. When the Remark LPs are live, will there be incentives or will there just be trading fees?
Yeah, so those will be up to Remark, and certainly from the Akala Foundation, if the foundation wants to chip in some of the incentive as well. So yeah, so the stage one that the two teams are working together with is trying to get over the technical hurdle, is to get Kusama to approve opening up the channel, because Kusama is the dad of Statemine, right? The father of Statemine, so it's still in control. So when right now, I think Brian's made a non-technical proposal already, and then they are working with the parity team to make a technical proposal. So once that proposal is up and for vote, we will certainly circulate that within our community, also Remark and everywhere else. So you guys should hop on and vote for that one. And then once that get passed, the first step is actually getting the token across. Once that's across, then the rest of the programs is, we can actually work out some incentive program and, some of the fun stuff that we do together with the, so for sure.
Sweet. Thanks so much, team.
Thank you. Thanks for support. Okay. We're nearing the end of the call, but really quick, just as Blink just mentioned, we're going to be posting this video to YouTube later, so I want to make sure to have visibility in some of the questions that are being answered in the community call chat as well. So there was a question about any documentation on how to participate in liquidations auctions on Karura. And it looks like a few people are interested in this. And Betty, you provided some liquidation info that we're going to incorporate into our wiki. If there's any color you could give us on that.
So if you go to the whiteboard session, posted a link. Right now it's some slides basically outlined the process of the liquidation and also the opportunity there for folks to pick up some cheap collaterals and also some arbitrage opportunities there as well. And then most importantly, at the end of the presentation, there's some code references. So basically a reference implementation of the bot that can be used to participate in the auction. And of course, that's a very, very conservative and simple bot that we wrote, Brian wrote. It basically keeps your KSM in the form of LKSM, and then when the auction happens and you decide to participate, then you kind of like borrow kUSD, and then to purchase the collaterals. And then once that event completed, then you can kind of like repay the kUSD loan, and then also you kind of accumulating cheap collaterals along the way. So that's a very, very simple strategy that's been. So folks who's interested, you can certainly feel free to use that as it is, or you could just swap out that strategy and then with whatever that you feel is appropriate for your purposes. So that's one side of the story. And the other side of the story, we're also working with a team who's expressed interest in building a user interface like more user facing liquidation participation tool. But so if any of you like listening who's also interested in doing something like that, or you want to I guess do something like collectively doing some auction together, also feel free to kind of experiment and share the idea or something like that as well. So yeah, yeah, I guess there's probably enough information there already. If you do have questions, like just feel free to ask, maybe in the tech channel for the code, etc. So we can help you with that in the channel. Other than that, I think that's it.
Excellent. Thanks for that. I think that we'll just have this last question that's in the community call chat from No Autopilot. The team's been busy creating history with Karura and Akala. Thank you. I'm curious what in particular stands out in the next few months or year as a major milestone for the project. Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe we can all, Brian, Betty, maybe you can kind of indicate what would be a major milestone for you. I'll just start and say that growing this community to the size it is has been a huge milestone for me. It's really exciting to see this healthy discussion on all of our governance channels, to see the support from the crowd loans. It's really going to be a momentous occasion when we have both the networks launched and of course, working toward the interoperability and composability of them both. So it's exciting to grow this ecosystem with you guys.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, certainly. Growing the community, raising awareness is certainly an important part of it. And then as from the core team here, mostly focusing on building stuff, the build continues. We're only at a very early stage of the Akala and also Karura project. So far, I would probably coin the stage of launching as still stage 0, because right now we are focusing on making sure the local economy has been bootstrapped. Local economy, I mean, the local Kusama and also the dot economy that we've been kind of experimenting and bootstrapping with the local assets. So the next phase of the development will be more focused on with the local economy. We're going to open it up so that it becomes international. So that is through the EVM Plus platform being launched, probably firstly on Karura and then later on Akala. So with that EVM Plus, then a few things will be possible. Number one will be bridges into other ecosystem will be available. And then that means various different type of assets that can flow in and out from different layer ones or other ecosystems. That's one. And then number two is we will be exposing many of the local economy protocols, such as stablecoin, such as the swap functionality, the staking functionality, and even the treasury functionality. Remember, we've got 2 million DOT in Akala's treasury, right? So all of those functionalities will be exposed in the EVM so that when the EVM opens up, folks who deploy smart contracts can make full use of those features, either it's for its liquidity or some special mechanism, kind of leveraging the treasury or doing some fun stuff with the KSM or dot derivatives. All of those stuff will be available in the EVM. So I think those that will be probably one of the next major milestones that we're working towards. So in probably not for too long. So in the next few weeks, we already launched the Mandala testnet with the EVM functionality last week. We haven't been very loud about it because it's still in a testing mode, and then we haven't released the full client side and adapters, the tooling side for the EVM development and deployment, even though the pilot code is already on Mandala. So we haven't been very loud about it. So it's doing a lot of the alpha testing on it. So far, we've handpicked about a dozen projects, like Solidity contract projects, to kind of work with them closely. Some of them have been developing something quite novel. Some of them have quite complicated, contracts been built. So we're working closely with them with our closed alpha to make sure that they have a good developer experience, and also probably also going to be like launch partners to deploy either on Karura or both Karura and Akala. So so that's why we've been quite focused on those developments right now.
Excellent. Josh, do you want to share a milestone that you're looking forward to or already accomplished here?
I'm excited to see our liquid dot product and just all the utility that's going to bring to the ecosystem. I think, the Karura users who've used LKSM have got a taste of it, but many users still stake on exchanges. So hopefully, we can provide that easy one-click experience, and then users can access the liquidity in their staking or in their stake dot into other DeFi products. So I just think users having that aha moment, or hopefully having that aha moment, is something that I'm looking forward to.
And I should mention too that some of the UI is getting updated. We should see the actual APY reflected on liquid KSM staking on Karura soon. Finally, Brian, if you'd like to share a milestone.
Yeah, as a parachain, we have a limited lease period for each crowd loan, and on Kala is like about 2 years. On Karura is even shorter than that. So that's one of the reasons why I think one of the big milestone of the network is that the treasury hopefully can accumulate enough KSM or the DOT to help to support the renew the lease options for indefinite period of time. So that will be I think a very big milestone for the networks. That just means the network treasury holds enough funds to secure the parachain slot forever. So they'll remove one of the biggest uncertainty, or one of the biggest questions that people were asking, like what happens if after the lease period finishes, and then what happens if the project failed to bid for a slot. So yeah, if the network treasury already holds enough funds, then we can just say, well, it's not going to happen. The treasury by itself is already able to secure the stock. We don't need to, especially for us currently, we have a fixed token supply, so we only have limited tokens can be used for the crowd loan rewards. So if the network itself can bid for the stock by itself, then we don't also need to issue additional tokens for the crowd loan rewards to ensure all the token values will not get diluted every year or every 2 years.
Amazing. Yes, we certainly have a powerful treasury that's community funded, so that would be quite an accomplishment for self-sustainability, and we look forward to see what happens there. Okay, I think this is it for us this week. Thank you everybody for joining. I will post the video in Community Call Whiteboard as soon as it's available, and of course it'll be on the Akala YouTube as well. If you have any additional questions, feel free to write in our Karura channels or technical channels, and the team will address it. And we'll look forward to the Akala launch. I think the team's ready to get heads down and make that success as well. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Betty. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, until next time, take care.